It has finally happened, guys. Erik Ten Hag has been let go from the position of Man United manager today. Breaking news that has just come into us. And guys, I'm sure there's Man United fans who are happy. I'm sure there's Man United fans who are probably a little bit disappointed that it didn't turn out the way they thought it would. But let's be honest, the ordeal for Man United fans has come to an end. Erik Ten Hag, who was in his third season as Man United manager, one of the most coveted positions in football, and this season hasn't gone well at all. We'll take a look at where they are sitting the table, what their squad looks like, all the stats that kind of represent Erik Ten Hag's reign. But what we can say, it's been a disappointment to say the least. The league performances have been less than ideal. Yes, he leaves with two trophy wins he won't let us forget, but those mask over and paper over the cracks which have been seen. A team that looks void of really any ideas, a team that looks void of any real unity. And Bright has been on the wall for a while, and the questions have to be for Ineos. After you sack a manager 9 games into the season, why wasn't the decision made at the end of last season? It's simply because of that FA Cup win. One of the worst things to happen for Man United going into this season. I feel like Ineos probably used Ten Hag as a little bit of a crutch, and I mentioned that on the video yesterday as well. So surprising, no, but should have been made a lot earlier, in my opinion. So yeah, we've mentioned the West Ham game, the straw that broke the camel's back. That last minute penalty for Bowen will be the last memory in the Ten Hag Man United era, and it was an era which we will go through in terms of the numbers and how they perform, but it was an era that was less than ideal. But a manager who had achieved so much with Ajax, taking them to the Champions League final, winning the Eredivisie on multiple occasions, high expectations. He was coming in, fill a gap after Solskjaer had left, and it was one which Man United fans were expecting a lot of, given his pedigree, given what they've seen from his teams in the past. And again, it left a lot to be desired. We're going to take a look at the Man United team and where they currently line up. This was the last starting lineup that they had. Højlund up top, Garnacho and Rashford on the wings, Bruno up top, Casemiro and Eriksen in midfield, and a back four of De Ligt, Martinez, Mazraoui, and Dalot, with Onana in goal. And a lot of these players are Ten Hag players. He's had 3 seasons to get out who he didn't want to have. He's had a number of opportunities to get in who he wanted to. And if you look at the team, he's promoted Garnacho to the first team. Højlund is his £60 million striker. Casemiro was brought in under him. Eriksen was brought in under him. Mazraoui, Martinez, De Ligt, Deloitte, Onana. These are his players, not to mention the players on the bench. And so we'll get into player profiling as we continue. But where do Man United see themselves in the table? 14th in the table, which is less than ideal, less than double the points that Man City have as well. And to be honest with you, they're half the team. They're half the team that Man City are. Yes, they beat them in the game last season in the FA Cup final. They're not there on a consistent basis. They've scored 8 goals this season and conceded 11, one of the lowest goal scorers in the Premier League. And it's indicative of what we've seen. For me, when I look at Man United, I don't understand the style of play that they're looking to kind of introduce into the game. They don't seem to have a clear direction and identity. I could talk about how Liverpool build up and how they play and how they set themselves up. Arsenal, Man City, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Brighton, Nottingham Forest. I could go down Tottenham. I could go down all these teams. None of them are perfect. Even Man City aren't perfect. We've seen them fall on occasion. But we all know what they're trying to do. Teams who have come up, Ipswich, we know what they're trying to do. We know how they're trying to play. Man United, I'm not sure. And the thing that is even more shocking is that Ten Hag rarely looked to change his style of play, rarely looked to adapt his system, rarely looked to do something different and out of the mold and outside of the box. It was all very samey from him. And we'll go into the squad in a little bit later, but I just want to look through some of the stats for Erik Ten Hag and stats that kind of encompass his reign. So this was produced earlier in the season to look at Ten Hag and what he's achieved. 100 games at Man United, 61 wins, 11 draws, 28 defeats with a 61% win ratio. But games where he's faced over 20 shots, 14 defeats by 3 or more goals, 7. Net transfer spend of 331. And this was actually last season, if I'm not mistaken, the end of last season, because it speaks about 2022 to 23, where they finished 3rd and won the League Cup. 23 to 24, where they were 6th, eventually finished 8th, and won the FA Cup. So this was not last season, but the season before. Yeah, mid last season, where they were sixth, and less than ideal. But it actually got worse from this point on. It got worse. They finished eighth. Yes, the FA Cup, as mentioned, papered over cracks, but less than ideal. Less than ideal for Ten Hag, and it was indicative. The numbers never really read that well for a team of Man United status. Since he joined the Premier League, you can see at the top sits Man City, as you would expect, Arsenal, then Liverpool, and Man United are in a group of Newcastle and Aston Villa. Not where they would want to be from a stature point, but that's where they are now. They sit amongst the Newcastles and the Aston Villa, and currently they sit below them. As a player, it's less attractive right now to join Man United than it is for these other teams. Yes, from a marketing standpoint and from a revenue standpoint, outside of football, yes, it may pay off. But everything else, I'm looking at these other teams as being as good, if not better than Man United, because of their infrastructure, because of their playing squads, for a number of factors. And for Man United, they have to get this management appointment correct. I know Ruud van Nistelrooy will be stepping in the gap for the moment as an interim. He can do a job. We've seen him at PSV. Can he adjust? He's got the respect of the team. That's been called out by the Athletic and reports that we're seeing around Old Trafford even before Ten Hag left, that Ruud van Nistelrooy had the respect of the players and the staff. And so it will be interesting to see how he goes about his job in Ten Hag's absence. But even in the summer when they brought in Ruud van Nistelrooy and some of these assistant managers, it was essentially like they were setting Ten Hag up to lose his job. Well, when he does go, we've got an interim there. We don't have to go and find somebody. Looking at some of the other stats in question, and we look across the 3 seasons in terms of games played and how Man United were performing from a defensive standpoint. So you can see actually that the goals conceded were actually going down this season. And the shots faced were actually going down. Shots on target were going down from last season. And you would think, oh my God, that's such a great improvement. They were abysmal in the 23 to 24 season. Abysmal. When I say abysmal, they were fighting with relegated teams to have the worst defence. Allowing your defence to face nearly 17 shots a game is ridiculous. And so this season, yes, they've clawed it back slightly, but they're still conceding cheap goals. And it's not to the degree that where it's enough, and their attacking output isn't to the level where you would expect that this can be tolerable either. Moving on to some of the other stats that we have, again, we've spoken about the amount of games that he's conceded 3+ goals in, 23 games in 123. I mean, yeah, you're looking at since Fergie retired, it's the worst out of any other manager. And defensively not solid, defensively looked weak, mentality wasn't there, and attacking wise looked poor to say the best. And so you've got a poor defense, you've got a poor attack, or a middling defense, a middling attack. You're not going to go very far. And that's the story for Ten Hag. And one of the funny things that I saw, that in his last 28 games, he was having similar numbers, if not worse numbers, than Gary Neville at Valencia. It doesn't get much worse than that. Sorry, Gary, but it doesn't get much worse for that. Erik Ten Hag era comes to an end, and rightfully so. I think it should have happened at the end of last season, if I'm being honest. And I think Ineos, probably used Ten Hag as a little bit of a crutch when the writing was on the wall for quite a while. We're going to take a quick look at the playing squad. As mentioned, I don't think Man United's squad is to the level of the teams around them, to the Newcastles, or it's comparable to say the least, or the Aston Villas. I think Aston Villa have a better squad than Manchester United. I think Chelsea have a better squad than Man United. I think Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Newcastle potentially, as we've mentioned, all of these teams in and around have better teams than Man United. Ten Hag no longer there. Tom Heaton and Ten Hag is no longer there. Andre Onana, who has been susceptible from time, he was a Ten Hag signing, managed him at Ajax, one of the best goalkeepers when they signed him. His performances have been less than desirable. Johnny Evans, who came for his coaching badges and is now one of the most sought out defenders in Man United, and one of the highest performing ones, which is a surprise and less than desirable. Maguire, again, hasn't blown. Maguire was almost a little bit of a saviour for Ten Hag on a number of occasions. The game against Porto for one, and some of his performances actually helped Ten Hag a lot. Lindelof probably shouldn't be at the club anymore, isn't at the quality. Luke Shaw had a number of injuries. Diego Dalot, again, inconsistent, I would say. He was one of Man United's best performances, but this season has been poor. De Ligt, I've been impressed by him as a defender. Mazraoui has had his issues. I still think he can come good and is of the quality of a Man United. Martinez, again, is of the quality, should remain, but his performances need to be at that level consistently. Malacia, another one of Ten Hag's signings. Haven't seen anything. Lenny Yoro, who's been injured, so it's unfair to judge him. Eriksen, for me, he's playing way too much for a player of his level at this current stage of his career. Shouldn't be at Man United, in my opinion. Casemiro has failed to live up to his performances. Bruno Fernandes, again, performed well for Ten Hag, but I feel like his role in a Man United should probably shift sooner rather than later. Mason Mount, I've spoken about Mason Mount. I think he's just been really, really poor for Man United, to be honest with you. Ugarte, I think Man United should have never signed. He's not the profile that they're looking for with the key pieces in midfield that they have. Mainu, a bright spark, one that Ten Hag brought through. And forwards, Rashford, he had an up and down relationship with Ten Hag. It will be interesting to see how he progresses. Probably one who should move on unless the new manager has a high level of belief in him and he still thinks he has a lot to achieve at Man United. Joshua Zirkzee, a signing from Ten Hag as well. Yet to be seen if he's the striker that they need and how he will fit into a system with Rashford, Højlund, Fernandes, etc. Anthony, a big money signing from Ten Hag, failed to live up to expectations. Ahmad, I don't think he was given a proper chance under Ten Hag, if I'm being honest. Højlund, the Ten Hag signing, and I think he has the quality to perform, if I'm being honest. Garnacho was brought through by Ten Hag as well. I think he had some appearances under Solskjaer also, but he really flourished. And again, it'll be seen to see if he's an automatic starter or if he's going to be part of the rotation. Man United need to get their quality up. I think that, to me, is evident. They need to get their quality up ASAP. And just going quickly into an article that was written by Total Football Analysis, it talks about the mistakes in profiling. And again, I don't think they've done well in profiling. Is it just Ten Hag? Maybe, maybe not. But a lot of these purchases seem to be linked with him. And the Højlund and the Zirkzee one are ones where you have to understand what kind of striker you're looking for. Are you looking for a more of a physical striker in terms of Højlund? Someone who will get about a bit more. Zirkzee, who's looking to link up. Are you trying to play two together? If you are, why didn't you change formation? Why did we never see Zirkzee and Højlund start together in traditional two, or if one playing off the other, moving Bruno out of the starting lineup? I just don't think Ten Hag investigated in the way that he should have. But guys, this has been my breakdown of the Erik Ten Hag signing. Please make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. I want to hear what your thoughts are on his dismissal. If you think it's the right timing, if it should have been done earlier. Guys, I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say as well. I'll catch you soon. Peace.